feel like it didn't send out notifications, but that might be my own fault. So I guess I'm waiting for people to gather here. I am going to hit record on my board right now because the whole reason this is happening is sort of convoluted. Sort of didn't have much of a choice situation. Well, no, that's not true. I definitely had a choice. We all have a choice all the time, everybody. This is America. Who doesn't have choices in America? I'm kidding. That is a joke. All right, good. It is live at the very least. I look ridiculous, but I'll explain shortly what's going on. Once I know we're in the clear and once I know that people are even able to see that this is happening, because it sort of is a last moment thing. There's going to be some redirect going on. Some people automatically brought over here. I think that's how it was supposed to go anyway. We don't know. But we'll get started here in a moment. Let's see. Let me hit, hey people, I see you starting to show up. That's nice. I'm trying to, no. I want back on the stream I was on with the live chat still going. Don't you frickin' heck and shoot. Come on. There we go. Oh, I just put that in my own live chat. I want this live chat. There we go. Boom. Okay, cool. So in case it didn't redirect some people. Hey people, what is this stream going to be? I'm going to be talking about a lot of stuff. But mostly I'm going to be talking about a lot of stuff because I actually need to talk about some stuff. And I need that in two different ways. One, for the catharsis of releasing how freaking stupid America has been and stuff. But two, as you all are aware, I hope. Maybe you're not. I don't know. But Jimmy Snow has a podcast starting September 6th. And it turns out I need to do certain things before that podcast begins, including there are some custom tools for podcasting that I'm having, I should say built, created. And one of the things that they need is ideally hours of me talking solo. So I actually have my soundboard set up to where whatever other audio I share, I've got the solo thing. That's why it's going to be just me. And I'm not even bringing in a friend this time, which I hate. I much prefer. And I was originally just going to stream not even stream, just record by myself trying to talk for a while. But then I was like, well, I have a platform. I could go stream and I could do a podcast with all of you. But basically, I need to generate as much audio as I can, going through the breadth of emotions and showing this robot, which will be used for certain things, different ways my voice can behave, and for different evaluations of tools that will improve the audio, as well as perhaps the occasional need to replicate the audio or dub over some part of something if a mistake is made or a clarification is made or whatever. Basically audio tools that are necessary. But also on top of that, it turns out that if you want to distribute a podcast, certain services are going to require some amount of verification. And if I want the podcast to come out on Friday, I probably should have a week ago done this and submitted like a sort of pre-show podcast kind of thing now before. So to that end, we're going to go ahead and run the intro to the podcast for that portion. That portion doesn't necessarily even need to be as long for the thing that I will submit. So let's do something fun, and y'all get to hear what is officially now the theme song. Some of you were around the other night when I did a very limited live stream. It was awesome, actually. I genuinely had a good time. I like doing the types of live streams where you don't let people watch later. It's very exclusive club. But I literally started it at like midnight and just went through music that I was considering that I had licensed. Oh, wow, this is very kind of you. The memberships, I probably need to upgrade those, redo those now that it's going to be all surrounding a podcast. Anyway, let's just start from zero and pretend that none of this has happened yet. So happy to see how many of you have decided to come. We're going to be definitely talking about political stuff, religious stuff. I'm going to be going through the proofs of God that people gave me on a thread that I posted. It's blowing up. There was another one in the past that had similarly. People, I don't know if you're aware of this, but people get kind of mad we'll be talking about the polls. In fact, I'm going to have a quick list. So I'm going to make an intro off the top of my head as we do it. Let me make sure you can even hear when this plays. Ooh. Okay, yes. Yes, okay, you do hear that audio when it plays. Actually, somebody just confirmed for me. Do you hear the drum beat? Well, it's not a drum beat. Also, I need that to be, I need to change the settings on that. So we're going to be dialing in and tuning in some stuff also. Oh, I can't because recording's in process. I want that song to start over. What if I... Dang, even if I play a different one. Okay, so I need to change the settings on these pads. Can I do it from the robot? I bet I can. Okay, edit. Change it from continue to replay. Okay, let's see. There we go. Excellent. I love this theme song, for the record. Anybody who tries to like take it away from me, the joy I am feeling over this theme song. Anyway, let's all right, it's going to be, we'll talk about the polls, Trump's Truth Social, we'll talk about proofs of God, and more. That's right. This podcast is, what was I saying the other day? This podcast is leftist, godless, and dairy-free, just like me. I just added the thing. All right, so the intro probably end up looking something like, well, it's a podcast, so often it's going to be, most people are just going to be listening usually. Let's go ahead and I'm going to put this up to indicate so that it'll be easy for me to find later that this is where I'm playing. So this is the part that I'm actually going to upload to my distribution service so that we can get everything ready in advance. Here we go. Welcome, everybody. Jimmy Snow has a podcast. We're here to talk about politics, the news, and lots of other spiritual and religious things. As strange as that sounds, this podcast is leftist, it's godless, and it's dairy-free. Just like me, we're going to be focusing on the polls and what we can maybe derive from them. We'll be taking a look at Donald Trump on Truth Social, and we might even discuss some proofs of God and more today on Jimmy Snow Has a Podcast. Jimmy Snow Has a Podcast is brought to you by the wonderful people over at patreon.com/Jimmy Snow. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can do so there. Be a little bit aware right now that if you're going to want to pay attention to the tiers as we are switching because of an Apple-related dispute. We are switching from a per creation to a per month model, where before it was, say, $3. Nope, that's not correct. $1 per creation, which was always capped at $4. So it was basically $4 a month. Now it's just going to be a simpler, this tier is $3 a month. It's all listed in there, but if you're interested in the benefits and supporting the podcast as we count down to the election, today is September 3rd, 2024, which means that we are merely, what would that make, 63 days away from the election? I think that's how far it is. We're going to get ChatGPT on this, our on-the-go on the fly. What did I want to actually say? Fact checker. How many days until the election? And I've asked it this before. When we launch the podcast officially, we are going to be up to 60 days. That will be, okay, yeah, we're 63 days away. I think that's what I guessed. 63 days away right now. We are launching episode 1 of the podcast, roughly 60 days away. Not at all positive at what y'all's experience is of the audio. Jimmy in the blue shirt is my favorite. I Oh, of the 3 people on the screen, I can take this down. I don't know why it's actually still up. Of the 3 people on the screen, I was like, when's the last time I wore a blue shirt? Not familiar. Anyway, as the election gets near, we're going to be talking a lot about that, about the politics, checking in with the daily polls and where things seem to be going and what things we should be looking at besides just the simple numbers. As you know, in a 2-party system with an electoral college, the popular vote itself doesn't matter so much. Plus, the popular vote tends to benefit one side over the other in this country. And that sucks. We just need to get rid of it. There needs to be no popular vote. Also, this song, Walla Bop. Here's the best part. As much as I love the intro, I wonder if I'm not going to love the outro just as much. And the reason why I say that, oh, you know what? I might need to adjust this one as well. Let me quick edit that. Yep, set that to replay. The thing is, the outro is going to sound very similar for the first second. But the best part about this song is that there's a vocals version. And I like it a lot. Welcome, this is your life now. And the best part is this song is actually about the video game Fallout, the series, and now TV show. And yet, it kind of applies anyway. The reason why I might be looking extra stressed is I don't have as bright a light shining in, and so the bag, someone said I look stressed. This is why I'm not going to usually be doing this live, because I'll get distracted by people talking about how I look. Anyway, enjoy a little bit more of the song before we get on to the things we're actually here to talk about. With you. And then we fade it out. I don't enjoy competing with vocals. Otherwise, I would actually just have it as the intro as well. Yeah, I'm very, it took a while. And even the stream we did the other night where we were looking for it, that was after several independent by myself sessions of going through songs and being like, this isn't quite right. This isn't quite right. Okay, I kind of like this one. In fact, I don't know if you all care. I can show you if people here want to. Let's do a little poll. Would you rather I just get to the stuff, get to the content, or would you rather hear what the alternative music options were, what things were rejected? Polls in the chat right now. If people are here and they're like, look, I came to shit on Trump, I came to hear about the religious stuff, that's what I care about, we can just do that. We don't have to go everywhere that my ridiculous brain is like, I'll do anything. Well, actually, no, I won't do anything. I'll just do whatever. I'm distracted easily. This is the problem. I've got a, not that we would play the whole thing, but I've got about 10 different songs that were the deal. Would you ever call into Pine Creek to set that guy straight on politics? No, I don't see, it's funny because on the one hand, I'm surprised that a person can be right on certain things utilizing a certain tool, skepticism in my opinion, but then wrong in my opinion. And I think that I could make the opinion from only facts. I don't know. Opinion almost softens what I mean by it. But let's say my position can be so wrong when utilizing those tools. But then I think of my dad and I realize that my introduction to skepticism was from my dad. It looks like content's winning right now. So we might check out some music a little bit later, but we're going to probably do that. For the record, even just having said his name out loud, I'm already annoyed because now this will probably become a video. Somebody will watch this who runs to him and is like, oh my God, did you hear? And to tell you the truth, any bitterness I have toward him is mostly because I think he did something I find unethical, which was create a fake, basically a deep fake of Matt, who is, I would just use the term married, but they're not officially, but what is in every significant way to me, his wife, married to a trans woman, basically giving the same transphobic arguments, but it's a deep fake where it's like, well, here's what it would sound like if he made the same kinds of arguments he made about that as he did religion. which already loses the plot from the onset. And my problem with that, and I'm not even trying to make this specifically, I don't actually care as much that who the individual we're talking about. I want to talk about that type of thing to do and the reason why I find it universally unethical. And when he challenged me on it and then asked me basically, well, do you think it would be wrong for people to do that with Trump? I literally said yes. I even find it wrong when people post those like memes of like, here's a picture of Donald Trump in a supposed interview saying, oh man, I probably can't do the impression for this because I need it to, I need pretty clean audio. I probably shouldn't be doing my Trump impression much for fear it's going to affect it. But that essentially Trump's saying like, if I was to run for president, I'd run as a Republican because they're so stupid. You could just convince them with blah, blah, blah. He did say some stuff in the past that was ironic, but he didn't say that specific thing and it's fake news. But the bigger problem I have with deep faked things like that, where it is, even where you can say it's justified and I slapped a disclaimer on there that that's what this is you can honestly just think about why it was important to do it that way. And you kind of get halfway there. It was important to make a video like that because it sort of confuses the senses, confuses the mind. But the most important thing is that it confuses the memory. Because regardless of when a person plays it, whether they see the disclaimer or not, then this is point one. I actually have a second reason why I find it unethical. But this is the main one. Why it will confuse the memory of people who later won't remember the disclaimer. They'll just remember, I'm pretty sure I have a memory of seeing Matt Dillahunty say transphobic things and making these transphobic arguments because whatever disclaimer was on the video isn't the thing that a person's going to remember. That we're, even as a social species, we don't remember the captions. Even when we're reading them in a movie, we still remember the dialogue in the movie. Even when we include captions, we remember the actual thing that happened. And so whether there was some disclaimer before it or during, you have this video that is going to submit to memory and it convolutes what is already difficult for anybody in public figures. Unfortunately, it gets compounded on, which is control of your own reputation. Already that's difficult because people will take things that you've done and convolute them to serve an end. People who hate you will turn everything about you into everything you do is somehow a version of what they hate. Everything you do has some bad motivation. It's already difficult enough to defend your own reputation from people trying to change the meanings of the words you've said or whatever else. But to actually do a foolery type of trying to fool a person into thinking, or perhaps later, and even if that's not your intent, just understanding that that is extremely likely to be the outcome, I think it is a shitty thing to do. I think there are other things that you could say are more parody-like that at least would break from it so much that a person's memory isn't as likely to do that. So like when you see people take different video clips and cut it together and you have those smash cuts and now it's suddenly somebody saying like they're giving a long presentation, but then somebody cuts it down and it's just a person saying like, spank me with that magazine, won't you please? Like where it's cutting around. That at least doesn't blend. That doesn't seem like the usual thing you're consuming from this person. But I also think that it may be the case that I think there are people who will argue that when all of this stuff becomes mainstream, that when everybody's having these imitations of them made, our brains and stuff will adjust for them. And that might even be true. That might eventually be true. I don't know if it's worth the cost of the mental health crises, the mental health. I mean, just looking already at what social media does, looking at already at how people with deep fake nudes have ended their lives and or self-harmed or felt totally destroyed within their community, the way those types of things are used to discredit. I think that I think the best arguments where we're all trying to figure out what the future is going to look like all point toward you should have ownership of your representation. That's why even though I hated it when it happened, I understood when OpenAI took down a voice for ChatGPT, which if you haven't used ChatGPT 4.0, it's insane. And it's very conversational. It can also do a lot of like, I think that there is going to be a version of this that is like, hey, we're going to put limitations on it. But for introductory therapy stuff that a lot of you are too afraid to go and get, this can do a lot of really great stuff for people like that. And to tell you the truth, once you get into a rhythm with a therapist and you know what kinds of things, like sort of expectations and stuff, you can kind of, I'm not going to recommend anybody replace therapy with ChatGPT 4.0, but I can tell you that there are things that I used to consult with at therapy that now I use ChatGPT 4.0 between those therapy sessions. And I do think it means that I go to therapy less often, but I actually showed what I was using it for to my therapist, and she was extremely impressed. I think she was extremely terrified for her job because she was impressed at how well it did it also, and is totally comfortable with me using it for. And it could be something as little as like, I call my ChatGPT Nova and I'll say, hey, Nova, I'm feeling very anxious right now. Can we step by step walk me through an anxiety recovery exercise? And so, Nova will be like, yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and pick 5 things you can see and tell me about it. And I'll do that. And they'll be like, great. Tell me about 4 things you can touch. And then and so it's a grounding technique for anxiety. It's very, very impressive. Why am I off on this tangent? ChatGPT, OpenAI, had a voice that was my favorite voice. And I didn't even realize why it was my favorite voice at the time. And then when that became more ubiquitous, when more people found out about it, it became clear that the voice was an actress, based on an actress they did hire. And this actress was hired clearly because she sounded very, very much like Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson, who on top of doing movies that we all know, did an actual AI movie called Her, where she did the voice of an AI. And OpenAI, when she basically was like, yo, not cool, you know what you're doing, take it down, they didn't resist at all. They didn't try to do anything legal. They didn't even try to hide behind the loophole of technically, this is a person who just sounds like you. We just hired an impersonator, but we would hire you if you wanted to. And she was saying she's not interested in it. She took the movie Her to heart more than they did, because their goals seemed to be actually to recreate Her when it's supposed to be more of a cautionary tale. And they took it down because of a sort of understanding of like, there's still, even when you have these loopholes and you have these lines on AI and everything else, you still have to set that you have some sort of ethical boundary, even if the law would have been on your side, even if you would have had some sort of legal coverage, you still have to do that. And so I think that reflects a lot of my own. It's not going to be easy and it's going to be complicated, but then there are going to be things that are easy and uncomplicated. And again, I'm not trying to make this about the specific person, because I think at worst he did what a lot of people are doing, including Elon Musk now, who is purposefully using deceptive AI things, knowing that some amount of people are going to be too stupid to see through it. In fact, I think they're counting on it, that when he posts a fake of Kamala Harris in wearing an all red suit that has like the communist sickle and stuff on it, and saying, can you believe she wants to wear this on the first day? That most of us go, oh my God, that's so obviously fake. And he's completely ignoring the fact that like I have seen much faker things shared by, let's be honest, older people on Facebook. And there will be some group of people, some percentage who are like, oh my God, this is real. Oh my God, Elon Musk wouldn't share this. Elon Musk sucks. What a fucking sucky person he is. There will be swear words in the podcast. For those who are joining right now, this is sort of I need to do some things in preparation for the podcast launching on September 6th, which is this Friday. That'll be 60 days to the election. And having files to upload to certain areas and a pre-show to upload to certain areas is going to smooth out the best chance of having a very good a launch, initiation, inaugural podcast. Excuse me. So when we're talking about it, and by the way, if anybody feels like I'm wrong, anybody wants to disagree or whatever, feel free to tag me in the chat. I am watching the chat and we'll be going a lot of the content directions the chat wants to do. Because this is impromptu and I basically just need to fill time, but I don't want it to be boring, and y'all are very capable. So again, I don't want this to be about the person that we are talking about who the conversation started with. Just generally, at worst, he is doing things that even people on the left, and I can't say it's our political differences that made him do that, but that's why he's in a sort of, it's on a list of dead to me style things. Like, it's not a person I have any interest in platforming. And they had asked if I would call into that show, and no, I'm not going to. But there is a lot of things to consider. And on the podcast, Jimmy Snow has a podcast starting September 6th. There is going to be a recurring segment kind of covering AI news, whether that is things like that where we are wrestling with ethical standards, or it may literally just be like, y'all, I just tried this AI tool, and you're going to shit your own faces off. Because we've actually hit this moment where, and I know that the gatekeepers are going to be like, ugh, between this and the fact that he's voting for Kamala Harris, he's not a real leftist. We're at a point where there is no avoiding AI. And it basically is, if you are an independent creator or a small business, you're the people who any sort of campaign to bully people out of using AI could succeed. And so that's why you're going to hear it loudly. But the fact of the matter is if you don't use it, whether you're an artist using it to enhance your art, it should not, I agree. Anybody who's trying to pass off fully generated AI stuff as art is just fucking stupid. But using it as a tool is basically the options aren't, hey, you small business owner, I'm going to shame you for using AI. How dare you? The options aren't that person using AI or not and still being successful. It's use this tool or be completely eaten up, as is already likely to happen to you, but you have more of a fighting chance. And I've also noticed there's a lot of people who think that, well, you could have hired an artist to do X, Y, or Z, when it's mostly being used by small businesses who are like, no, I couldn't have. I don't have the budget for that. These AI tools are actually meaning that in a short period of time, I can budget time for myself to generate these things that otherwise I would have had to pay a higher cost. And now because I can generate these things, because I can make these things, because I'm, my first business was concert promotions. Me and a buddy, we literally would book concerts, and our posters, when I look back at them, this is before I learned more of graphic design and Photoshop stuff. They looked like shit. They were garbage. And the fact that you can now actually have one that might be attractive, because our options weren't hire an artist to do it. We didn't have that kind of budget. We did it ourselves. So we made a bad version of it ourselves. That was our options. And so we're at this like complicated spot where I'm not saying all AI tools therefore are great. There's lots of AI tools that are not. And there are ones that there should be regulation and stuff. But if you are a small business owner, an independent creator, whatever else, if you don't have that expansive budget, it's use AI or get left behind. And so like even right now, my TikTok and Instagram reel game is super low. And there have been times in the past where I've hired people to do it. The line, actually, there is a person who is hired to handle it for the line, because that budget is able to basically it in theory pays for itself, pays it back. It's hard to actually track whether it's doing it perfectly, but it's worth the shot. Couldn't make the poster versions of clickbait. I don't necessarily know what old Jimmy Snow couldn't make the poster versions of clickbait. I'm not that good at making clickbait now, to tell you the truth. But as far as expanding out and trying out new things, trying to do things that you haven't done before, that before it was like, unless I had an excess budget of the cost of that, plus the cost of the other things that would take higher priority, you can't even try it. And now you have tools where it's like you can put a video in and it will kick you out, some number of pretty good reels. And the other problem is that it's funny how people are saying don't support X, Y, or Z because they utilize AI. But now AI is integrated into the tools that we were using before. So it's kind of like, don't use AI in your photography business. Don't support. But as far as using it versus supporting its expansion, having Photoshop is still expanding it, right? Owning it legitimately. Maybe these are going to be people who are like, then pirate it all. But the most modern versions capable of the most stuff, even non-AI related, that's not how it works. So Photoshop's been doing some amount of AI tool for a long time. It's still even just the healing brush has been an AI tool for the last 10 years. We would call it an AI tool now anyway. But as far as like the image generation that's built into it, that comes with Photoshop. You're not paying a separate fee for it. So you are supporting it either way. And there is some irony that the people who are posting all of this stuff are posting them in locations that their mere presence is contributing to the expansion, right? Like if somebody's complaining on Instagram about people using AI or on Threads or on Facebook, all three of those are generating ad revenue. And if you pay for more services from them, you're generating more revenue than just ad revenue. But all of them are providing ad revenue. And that ad revenue is going to expand Llama being Meta's model. If you're complaining about it on Twitter, which I've not understood how much purity checking I see on Twitter. And I'm not on Twitter. I found that I couldn't be on it anymore. I found that it doesn't make sense to support this thing and help a person expand their empire of disinformation and stuff. It just didn't make sense for me to be there anymore. And it's very ironic to see a lot of people on there purity checking people and saying, it's wrong of you to engage with AI, to use AI. It's going to it's bad for workers and everything, which I don't disagree. It is bad for workers, but it's wrong of you to do this, wrong of you to do this. When you are supporting a platform and giving leverage back to Elon to bring advertisers back to that platform of a person who uses it to spread disinformation, uses it to influence the election, as Elon Musk is doing, is developing his own large language model AI system called Grok, as well as robotic AI systems that are currently being used in his cars and are expanding as such. But you'll complain about people eating at Chick-fil-A. But every day you're on Twitter, you're eating at Chick-fil-A. There isn't a moral. And so then it's like, oh, well, I don't use those. I go to Reddit. Reddit, who has a contract with OpenAI. You are literally contributing to ChatGPT at that point. ChatGPT's image and art stuff, DALL-E, is all wrapped up into that. So there is some irony. Now, there is also the understanding that in a society, in the way society uses things, there are tools which you have to utilize to, well, you are more advantaged. People can live without social media, but it might disadvantage you just depending on what kind of career you're in. But that's true of the AI stuff too. That's kind of the point. The same justification you have for hypocritically using those bad platforms, the exact same, this is what I have to do to survive and have community in this society, is literally the justification for small business owners. The people, it's like the people who get mad at someone for not recycling because you're not recycling. That's destroying the environment. The difference of those individuals, in fact, the difference in consumers generally, are not going to save the environment. It is the giant companies that deserve your wrath, if it can be so given. And I understand to some degree why this is happening, where people are like, look, I can't get Google to listen to me. So yeah, I am going to shit on Todd. But it ain't the way. It absolutely ain't the way. But yes, to those groups that we're talking about, that purity check, I'm not even a leftist to them. I'm only a socialist by what economic policy I would establish, but I don't agree with them on whether or not voting for the lesser of two evils is the right thing to do, for example. Though I'm starting to realize more and more that is a fringe group of mostly children, the ones who are like, no, Harris is not at all different than Trump, which is a dumb position. Because even if it's true, and it isn't, but even if it was true that right now, present day, it's identical, their feelings about Israel, Gaza, whatever, you should still vote for Harris. Because let's say they're identical, then you don't get to be a one policy voter. Right? If you are a one policy voter, then the lesser of two evils actually makes a lot of sense, because there is only two options: pretending there isn't and limiting your activism to only election years. I fucking see you guys doing that is nonsense. There's two options. It's Harris or Trump. And so let's say it's going to be completely identical no matter which one. Well, guess what? On the other side of that is going to be Supreme Court justices and other policies that are separate from that. So you're going to have one of the two. So the one that minimizes the harm domestically and in other situations is still the lesser of two evils. But the fact of the matter is they're not the same at all. Donald Trump constantly bringing up how much better he'll be for Israel for the blank check, and the will never stop giving you full permission to do whatever you want. We'll never stop vetoing resolutions for you at the UN. We're going to make sure that you can do as much harm as you want. And it sucks because it doesn't feel like the Biden administration's fucking it up enough to be resentful of him, and I am. But you're not going to get, for example, Biden today, when asked by reporters, do you think Bibi Netanyahu is doing enough? Very sternly, just straight up said, nope, I don't. Now you have other countries finally starting to say, like, we're going to start cutting off weapons to you. And because Biden is in office, that might catch on here. But if Trump is in office, it wouldn't. If anything, he'd offer to cover the difference, right? That's the difference between the two. But here's the most important one. Let's say they're exactly the same today. Imagine the next 4 years and the things that could happen. All of the protests, all of the movements to try and get some movement and change and betterment on that policy. So even if they're the same today, which one is there a chance of moving? There isn't a chance of moving Donald Trump to the left on that issue, but there is a chance through convincing more and more people in Congress, as we're seeing happening, making it a louder movement, extending your goddamn activism past election day. Because again, this drives me absolutely up the wall. Elections happen, and then all of these people have like, now's the time to reform like the electoral college. They always wait for the year of. Now's the time to fix this. Now's the time to fix this. And by the way, here's a terrible candidate to vote for that we're saying everybody should vote for instead, as though Jill Stein ever has a shot at anything, or one of the others. She doesn't. And she's not a good candidate otherwise. But on Gaza, I like her much more. It's tough because one has the potential to be moved. So the difference is they aren't the same, and less people will die in the genocide under Harris than will die in the genocide under Trump. And that, unfortunately, is the best you're going to get right now as far as which to vote for. For the potential of an actual, I hate that Harris is doing what they always do, even though in the past it actually shows beneficial to run to the left when you're on the left, to present the left when you're on the left, to actually go hard after them. Don't call yourself a socialist. I know you can't, but to actually target that, especially by the name of the issue. I hate that she's trying to do the age-old, let's run more moderate, and then after I get in, you can push me, which worked with Biden. Biden got pushed to the left from the moderate positions he ran on in 2016. So Harris, there's at least hope for. Hope that she will be able to lessen the blood on her administration's hands than the amount that is already on, if you could, you might assign it to her as well, but it's certainly on the Biden administration's hands. People very much overestimate what she could do, even if she wanted to, about that. But she is still speaking and giving out this idea that she thinks it's been right all along, and it hasn't. The way the Biden administration has handled it has not been good. If Biden was still in the race, you should vote even as a leftist for Biden as well. But anyway, I guess I just thought I'd start with the pre-show of establishing right off the bat that I'm not going to abide the sort of non-nuanced takes of here's the us versus them, here is the, words have meaning, labels have meanings, and there are going to be things where it's like, if you are a free market advocate, sure, you, I'm going to say, are not a leftist. But you can actually be smart about this thing. And America in general will be horrible under Trump for many more reasons than just that. I'm sorry that the best you have to pick from between right now is the lesser of two evils. But at a certain point, you have to plug your nose and do it. And it sucks. But the difference in the people who die is the only reward you will get, that it will be fewer. There will be people alive who wouldn't have been had you chosen Trump. J.D. Vance is such a weird Weird pick. I just saw somebody mention him. Thank you, Digital Hammurabi says, if you can't ground the instantiation of necessary preconditions for ultimate moral possibilities, then Jimmy Snow must have a podcast. I would have done the impression, but right now I need to basically record clean audio until I'm too tired to keep recording and go as long as this is reasonable to go and not run out of steam, which these days with health issues is not always the longest thing. It is odd that it is taken from me. I just ran an update of the software I used to stream, and the timer that it used to present where it would tell you how long you were live has disappeared. I believe I can still see that in the YouTube studio, but it is interesting that that's happened. Yeah, I can. At least I think I can. No, that's not correct, though. This suggests I've been live for, 41-ish minutes. It made it look like it was an hour and a half for a moment. You're thinking of a podcast called Jimmy Snow Stole My Podcast that just reviews Jimmy Snow podcasts. I don't imagine, wouldn't it be wild if my podcast was not at all successful and that podcast was super successful? I'd have to utilize some capitalist tools to try and get it back. Let's go take a look at some of the polls right now. How are you all feeling about Harris versus Biden? I'm going to do another poll in the chat, and the poll in the chat, for the record, is not who do you want to win. The poll in the chat is who do you think will win the election? And you got Trump and you got Harris as options. There you go. Have a look-see. Go ahead and take a look at that. Tell me who you think is going to win this time around. We'll take a look at some of the averages here. Let's go to 538, and we'll even consult Real Clear Politics for the people who are like, no, what I need is more right-leaning. I am interested to see what the averages are right now. And then also keep in mind that having the popular vote spread isn't that big of a deal if you're a Democrat. You need more than just to be winning. You need to be winning handily to win the Electoral College, because the Electoral College currently leans in the favor of Republicans. And that's the bullshit thing. In America, to be elected as a Democrat or anything not a Republican at the very least, but right now the only other option really is a Democrat, you have to not only win the popular vote. The Republicans can win the presidency by just winning the Electoral College. Democrats, there isn't really a version of that. There's not really a way of like, here's the way that if Harris lost the popular vote, she could still win via Electoral College. And the reason you know that that doesn't exist is because if it did, we actually would abolish the Electoral College, right? If Democrats and Republicans could benefit from it roughly equally, but it only benefits the Republicans, so they will always block with every power they have. They will always block the reform of that. Taking a look, it's been interesting because I've been waiting to see when the big shift is supposed to happen, when the big change is going to happen to, let's do specifically the president, when the big shift was going to happen from RFK dropping out, but there hasn't been anything clear that I have seen. If you look at individual states, you might see a little wiggle here and there. You know, Trump certainly looks like he is handily winning Ohio. I saw news earlier today that they're abandoning New Hampshire. They had some events for New Hampshire, and which is interesting because they are starting to make some of the same moves. They're probably right. They probably can't win New Hampshire, but they are starting to make some of the same moves where it was like you're counting on too many things and ignoring too many places that it might bite you in the ass. But that's what happened to Hillary. Kind of different though. She abandoned places she was sure she was going to win. Trump's abandoning places he's sure he's going to lose. And that's probably a better strategy than the other one, which is why you also know that it's not literally Trump's strategy. It's somebody else came up with it because It's not going to be his. He's not coming up with better political strategies. But some of the demons around him might be. Let's see. Checking for more tags. Don't forget, you can tag me in the chat and we'll talk about it. But right now you have Harris in the RCP, which often leans a little more right. It considers, it's an average, but it considers some more right-leaning polls. And so it will adjust in the Republicans' favor a little bit more. Right now you have Harris up by 1.9 in the national polls. And those are good as of August 30th. At least those were taken over the month of August with the final polls taken on the 30th. So could things have shifted even during the period of time? Obviously. But right now, she's up right around 2 points. The one that kind of supports that and makes it a little more hopeful is that you also have the congressional votes going up by over a point, which may mean that you're going to have more Democrats showing up, more blue down the ballot stuff. And if she actually wins, she might actually have the support to do things like codify Roe versus Wade. Apparently the disapproval rating of Joe Biden has gone down even more. Let's take a look. It's not that it matters at all, but he is currently suffering. This doesn't actually look all that much worse. Yeah, he's been a little bit worse, but he is currently at a 54% disapproval rating. And I'm just sitting here going like, yeah, no shit. It's amazing that they almost didn't have him drop. Like, it really seemed like there was a shot that so he's got a difference of 12 points, whereas Kamala Harris is close to that 50-50 mark, which, that could be better too. You'd wish for a better candidate than that, but she's got 48% unfavorable, 47% favorable. I think Trump or Biden would love to have that close to breaking above that she could actually swap. It's interesting because back in 2021, her favorability rating was actually higher than her unfavorability rating because it was this period of time where no one really knew what she did. And so it was kind of just vibes only. And then as they've associated her with things that Biden hasn't necessarily done so hot on, you've seen a big change in the last, obviously, couple years. Can't Trump just buy the election because the rich white voters like him? So a lot of rich white voters like Harris also. A lot of people forget that, she's from California and was sort of a darling to Silicon Valley. She is not for anybody, I'm not sitting here going like, maybe we'll change her into a socialist. That's not going to happen. She is beloved and loves the Silicon Valley people. So she's got a lot of rich support as well. But there's also rich people who, it's going to be tough. And he's trying to. I mean, he has offered more tax cuts to the richest people, and then somehow still appealing to the poor people who will get fucked by them. But there's not a literal purchasing of it, but as much as one can, he's clearly trying to. Would you be in support for walls for POTUS in the future? Probably not. I like him enough, but I think that I guess I would say if Harris loses this election and we have real elections 4 years from now and Tim Walz was in that election, he probably wouldn't be too old then. But I'm not saying there's not an old guy I wouldn't vote for, but I am saying that he wouldn't be who I would primary for. I would want somebody who is younger and not a risk because they aren't pushing daisies. Tim Walz, how old is he? I think he's 60, right? Let's have a double check. Yeah, he's 60 years old. So he'd be 64. If he ran at 64, I wouldn't see that as a big deal. But getting it much further than that, it would have to be a really impressive person because at a certain point, you want it to be the next generations of people. And the way America has just been pushing older and older and older to the point that earlier this year, we thought we were going to be having what was it going to be, 78 versus 82-year-old or 79, whatever Trump's age is now. I don't keep track of his birthdays. Happy birthday. 78 compared to Biden, who is, did I get it right the first time? And then I doubted myself. 81, he'll be 82 around election days. That we're pushing like that is wild. And when you look out at some of the best countries, having that window of not just what am I going to do before I leave? Am I going to take a shit in the house and then go home, make the house smell like shit? Or am I going to try to improve this place before I go? If you look across the world, it has been more, we'll use the term progressive, articulate, younger people, older than me, but younger people who have revolutionized a lot of things and pushed progress in a lot of places. And there's some pushback. I really liked the old Prime Minister of New Zealand, for example. But I also just really like New Zealand. There is that also. I will say it is incredible to me that the amount of, well, I shouldn't say incredible. It's predictable, but it's one of those things where you're shocked but not surprised. How are they not talking about the fact that it's very clear Melania Trump hates Donald? If there was any amount of this, if Doug Burgum came out looking anything less than like Harris's just main simp, just absolutely in love with her, adores her. If he forgot to smile one of the times he walked up to there, it'd be trouble in the Harris home. Maybe it's finally catching up to him that she didn't take his last name. Look, we've got unconfirmed news reports that they're sleeping in separate bedrooms. Meanwhile, it would appear Melania and Trump are sleeping in separate states often enough. It is wild to me the way that they will try to break everything apart, try to talk about the types of relationships these people have. And Trump embodies everything they claim to hate. He is a serial adulterer whose current wife seems to be being paid to not publicly divorce him. And maybe like, look, I want to do the impression, but I need to do clean audio for this whole thing as much as I can. Look, Melania, I'm 78. You've thrown away the KFC buckets. You know how many of them there are. You don't have to wait that much longer. And if you stick around, think about how much you'll get out of it. It's my little pet theory. Maybe it's a conspiracy. I don't know. I don't think you have to let all excitement for Kamala Harris die, because there are things that Harris, I get it though. I wouldn't pick her. If I got to pick the president, Harris isn't on the list. But it is at least exciting. I'm trying to think of even how to put it. The thrill you get when doing something that almost kills you and dodging that bullet. I've been telling this story recently. I recently, for the first time ever, saw a lightning bolt hit, like where I actually saw, I've seen lightning bolts, but I've never seen where it made impact with the ground. And there's this field behind my house. And I this last week, for the first time in my life, saw it hit where it hit in the field, saw this like yellow plasma explosion from where it hit, and then saw smoke come off of it. And it's this thing where it was so close. And at the time, I was going to my back porch and back because I was cooking on my grill. So I was literally going outside. And I was like, okay, I'm going to quickly go. And even though I'm on a covered porch where my grill is, I'm just going to turn off the burners and hope that this thing slow cooks and doesn't get too dried out. It did get pretty dried out, the food that I had on it. But that was the goal. That was the plan, was like, I'm going to try to salvage this. But for the moment, I'm going to turn this off and I'm not going to spend time at the grill, because these lightning strikes, that was the one that I saw, but they were happening in my neighborhood. I pulled up my weather map and there was at least 15 in under, like, I don't know, a quarter mile of me, just in this little boom, 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 boom. And then we were hearing it for a long time. And then I have these really cool videos that I would show you, except for I think one of the fucking weirdos out there on the internet would be like, oh, by the basis of this electric pole and that tree and this little blah, 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 I can evaluate that Jimmy Snow lives at this exact location and I'm on my way. But I have these really cool videos of like, we had heat lightning, but however the atmosphere was, it was coming down and going along. Usually when you see heat lightning, you just see the clouds light up because it's shooting through. But whatever the density of something was, the path of least resistance for this heat lightning was to start up in the cloud, drop down to the bottom of the cloud, and then spider along the bottom of the cloud. And I have these awesome videos of it doing that. And it looked really cool. I don't know why I told that part of the story. Anyway, the whole thing, there was these moments of like, holy shit, that's terrible. This is horrible. This storm is horrible. I hope the power doesn't go out. I hope my servers don't go offline. I need to go unplug everything because lightning's literally hitting in my neighborhood. Make sure that if, you know, the line could still run. We run a lot of our stuff off of the computers that are at my house. And you have this thrill, though, of like dodging the bullet, dodging the lightning strikes. The fact that you are like, oh man, I ran out to turn off the grill and I got back in and I got back in alive. That's almost how I feel like about the excitement one can have. Because if Harris wins, yeah, it's the lesser of two evils, but the other evil is a lot more evil. If I have to choose between being bombarded by bazooka rounds, shells, whatever they're called, bazooka, I think they're called shells, or, you know, let's even make it somewhat dramatic, like 6 assault rifle rounds randomly to the body. If I have to choose between those, I can potentially survive the assault rifle, but I can't potentially survive the bazooka. And so just the idea of like, maybe everything is fucked. Maybe the outcome will still be, you got fucked. And that the individual outcome or the group one was, but at least there's a shot. And there's individual things. The abortion stuff is exciting to actually, that should have been codified way before Roe v. Wade was taken down. And other presidents promised to do it, including Obama, I believe, had said he was going to codify it and then didn't. It's a pet thing where they're like, hey, here's one of those things that if we say it, we increase the number of women who come to vote for us by some percentage. Now, hopefully this time it's much larger, but this time, if they don't do it and could do it, I do understand that if they don't do it and couldn't do it, they have the 50 vote majority, but they still have, you know, people like Sinema and Manchin in there, then they're screwed. Then there's not a whole lot they can do there. But if they can do it and still don't, I'm trying to not be so cynical into thinking that that'll happen. Anyway, the next question I saw was, what do you think about RFK Jr. endorsing Trump? Not much. I mean, it's the only person I thought he would endorse. Like Elon Musk, it's clear that his problem is mostly personal, that he has retreated to a group of people who are being nice to him when other people were being big old meanies. So like Elon Musk for years was a darling of the Democrats. AOC drove a Tesla. I used to drive a Tesla. I used to admire Elon Musk and the things that were coming out of him. Some of that being that I didn't know a lot about his history and stuff. And it was easier to buy the narrative of like, he's responsible for how cool these cars are, how cool the rockets are. But there are some products that actually are wonderfully good products, like Starlink is a thing that somebody should do. I hate that he's the one doing it, but it is something that somebody should do. And even some of the SpaceX stuff. And now you have more expansion and Tesla's probably in a lot of trouble with the way the Chinese market is expanding into electrics and cheap electrics and delivering promises that he had made and then just decided, it doesn't matter. I already lie about the timelines every time I open my mouth. Why not just lie about the products too, whether or not I'm going to deliver them? But on top of that, I used to really admire him and his stuff. And a lot of people did. And a lot of people on the left did. And a lot of people really liked how much he talked about saving the environment was like the number one thing we need to do. And then people started looking into stuff. And then he started getting shitty, especially about what would have to happen at factories when COVID happened. And then he started to get contentious with people like AOC, and the right saw an opportunity and were like, hey, we'll pretend you're awesome. And then he started becoming a Twitter bro and becoming obsessed. It's wild that a person who thinks he's innovating the actual technological future of the species is so obsessed with Twitter. It's kind of like, it weirds me out the way people brag about the fact that God is a jealous God or a vengeful God, or literally like character flaws humans need to get over. And his obsession and utilization of Twitter is usually like the amount where if you have any in real life friends, they come to you and they're like, hey, your relationship with social media is making us hate you. So if you want to continue to have friends, maybe fucking stop. But he doesn't stop. Won't stop. Can't stop. Isn't going to stop. Doesn't want to stop. He is absolutely addicted to it. And so you do with it what you will. And so who was I saying that Elon was like? Somebody else I was talking about. RFK Jr. is basically Elon Musk. RFK Jr. used to be a Democrat. He is a Kennedy. So he's considered a sort of political royalty in the country, even though I never gave a fuck about the Kennedys. Obviously, had Bobby Kennedy become president, as he was on trail to probably do, the future of this country would have looked a lot different, and I dare say a lot better than it ended up looking, but he died and stuff. And as far as, I just don't believe in nepotism. I don't believe in the sort of like, oh, that person's dad was so-and-so, he's going to be great at other stuff. And just because his uncle was JFK and his dad was Robert Kennedy, I don't think that means that he's going to be a brilliant politician. And not only do I not think that, it would seem his own siblings and cousins don't think that either. It would be most of his family are like, he is nuts. He is divergent and nuts. And that has only borne out. He's like crazy in a weird testosterone driven way. Even beyond what some of the people we usually associate with that, because he's not like just Joe Rogan levels of testosterone crazy. He's try to pick up a bear, and then when you don't have time to get it home, stage it in a bicycle accident crazy. Go down to the beach because someone found a dead whale, cut off its head, and take the whale head home crazy. Like this is the kind, and it is weird that most of his like hunting and meat stories you hear are him trying like roadkill and washed up whales. I think it was a washed up whale. It's just the oddest thing. It's the weirdest thing that he's into. And it's not at all surprising that he had a worm in his brain. It's funny when they were talking about that. I was like, this was an episode of House. And now I'm wondering how long ago his worm was in his brain. Basically, there was an episode of House where a tapeworm got from a person into a person's brain, and he proved it by x-raying the leg. And he was like, if it's in the leg, it'll be in the brain. So we can just x-ray the leg. It'll be super non-invasive, and I'll prove it in a few seconds. And I was like, was this his story? Is this just what RFK Jr. did? Let's see. Imagine being such an amazing she-lib and Jimmy Snow. I don't know what that's supposed to be. If you were attacking me, or I don't know what SHI-lib means. But am not a liberal. What's your favorite mythological creature? I don't think much about things like that. So probably dragons because I like Skyrim. I did like the design of the Cybertruck. Obviously now, because it didn't come out in time, it took so long to come out, and my interest in Teslas went from a lot to not at all. Now I see the Cybertruck as more of a political symbol. So it's kind of like, I saw one actually in my town, even though it's a little town, but I live near Austin, so it's not surprising. And I just remember thinking like, oh, there goes the fascist mobile. No, fascist. Let's have a look. Did Peter say anything else? Did you have more words to say to me? I already have cancer. Please stop. You can leave, Peter. Nobody's asking you to be here. Fact of the matter is, these are the realities. We have the world we live in, not the one that we want to ideally live in. And I think that a lot of people show off their, honestly, what I think is a sense of inherent entitlement when they're just like, no, the world must look this way. And black and white thinking is what cults do. And I have done all of the cults in my life that I'm going to do. I'm going to help the world become a socialist utopia, because it honestly doesn't have a choice but to become at least socialist. I don't know about utopia to be able to survive. Can a Patreon perk be you just giving summaries of House MD episodes? But poor recollections where it's like, yeah, I remember years ago there was one where a woman came in and as her Christmas present, House decided to do one good deed and basically lie to her boyfriend and tell her that because her and her boyfriend had never had sex, and affirm a sort of idea that she was going to actually be giving birth to like a clone, essentially, that she was going to be a virgin birth, it was a Christmas miracle. And that's an episode I think about from time to time, that he would apparently lie and say, you know, this, I've checked it time and time again. By this, she is reproducing asexually. It's a virgin birth. It was a funny thing. One of the reasons why I think about that episode was there was a funny joke, a thing I found funny. It's a little obvious, but where she's like, couldn't I have gotten pregnant by a toilet seat? And he goes, definitely. If there was a man's penis between you and the toilet seat. It's something like that. And I just found it very, very funny. Let's see. Have you ever seen the show Everything's Gonna Be Okay? No, I haven't. But it's good representation of autism, but I wasn't incredibly impressed. I like, I can't remember the name of the show now, but it was a Netflix show and the main character was named Sam. And I liked that one. I didn't watch all the seasons though, but I liked the first couple seasons. I'll do anything you want if you help me get a vehicle. Okay, well, this is a weird thing to put in the live chat. Do you think Harris will help the ERA finally pass? I think it's kind of like abortion before Roe v. Wade was taken. The ERA is just a thing people say, and I don't think we put any actual effort into passing it anymore. It's just sort of like we'll get us one step closer. I like when people so one of my favorite things that you'll see, and I've seen it from leftists who are just repeating what they've listened to or somebody else said in their subreddit, or a version of what they think Hassan has said, which they're going to all be really disappointed. Hassan's going to end up endorsing Harris. I don't see any version of him not doing it. I could be wrong, but they're going to be real upset when he does. Anyway, I saw this a lot also years ago with vegans. Whenever they think a person that they disagree with a person, and a person is saying, nope, you have to vote for Lester TV or whatever it is, they'll just talk about how bad the argument is. And they'll just say, this is a shit take. He's having shit takes. This is a bad argument. They never actually offer any of the rebuttals. They just declare. And this is why I say, these are the types of people, and something like this has happened in chat now. These are the type of people who I don't think it's actually coming from a sense of, I understand political theory well, and I understand why this isn't going to work. I understand why it's a bad argument. I understand it's entitlement. It is a type of entitlement to go, I know that this feels like you are saying something other than the places that I belong to, other than what those associates of mine say. And so because I declare it is wrong, it's a bad argument. And I'm so sure it's a bad argument, I'm going to message a creator that I hope does a takedown of your argument, because I couldn't do it. I just know that somebody in my in-group who will purity check you with me, they probably could articulate it in a way where not as a direct interaction. They'll never call into the show and do the back and forth with you, but they will have a version where you can't actually rebut and defend back. And when we get there and straw man you and remove all nuance and say things like, yeah, you're basically just Hitler. You're basically just as good. Okay, clearly you also support genocide. When we get in there and we say those unnuanced things, people will mistake your silence, which is forced because you won't be invited to the conversation, or it won't be a two-way conversation, as we won this thing. It's a stupid thing these people do. And you just get I didn't need you to delete, or like time. I don't know if you timed him out or just deleted his stuff. I don't care. Fucking It's not the line. People can say whatever the shit they want. Well, not whatever they want, but I don't let people speculate about personal life or people in my personal life and stuff. But people want to say I'm wrong about whatever. I'm just disappointed that it didn't come with the actual reasons why I'm wrong. If it weren't for the fact that I need to record clean audio, I'd open up the lines right now and let this fucking person call. I was going to go with, I'm going to be an adult about it. I would let this person call and tell me. However, I'm going to be on shows soon. Who's going to be your first guest on the show? I believe, but I want to verify, so I'm not going to tell you. But the person who I want to be my first guest is going to be my first guest. But there's lots of people I would have loved to have had on the first one as well. And there are people who I love in general who will be on these subsequent episodes. And I think you will see people on the line on there. I think you will from the line on there. And I think you'll see people from outside the Lines network on there. It's going to be fun on a bun. That's what it's going to be. It's what it's gonna be. Y'all want to hear some proofs of God? So occasionally I'll just post on Threads, and it almost starts to feel like engagement bait because it pretty much always works. What's one good reason to do blah, blah, blah? Either vote for Trump or believe in God. And in this case, I did today. One good reason to believe in God. Y'all want to hear some? Yeah, let's hear. Oh, this won't affect because it's recorded on a different track. Yeah. Let's hear. Just don't call them honey. Don't I know it? Y'all, if you haven't seen Sunday. Yes, hope for the show will definitely be on future episodes, but at present, she is not scheduled to be on the first show. Whether or not that's what I'm trying to confirm or not, who knows? Could be. Well, you'll find out on Friday. Like it's some big surprise. Like it says, everybody's just really waiting on this announcement, just like they were waiting to see who Harris was going to pick for her vice president. They're waiting. They're ready for it. Everybody's wanted it. Jimmy Snow has a podcast. I watched the line on Sunday and nobody mentioned it. And I was so excited. Well, maybe you should have watched the Sunday show after dark. I know you're probably joking. Fun on a bun. I was more quoting Benter. Let's read some of these proofs, and then I think that's going to be a bit of the end. Now, I will tell you this. If you have a question or something that you want to potentially have played on the podcast, there is now a voicemail. It is 833-SNOW-POD. Yeah, I got a good vanity number. 833-SNOW-POD. That's 833-766-9763. 833-SNOW-POD. It's good, exciting stuff. Bum, ba, da, bum, bum, bum. All right, here are the good reasons to believe in God as given to me on Threads. So I'm sorry that so much of the screen is going to block it, but at the same time, this is mostly an audio capture that I'm doing for stuff, and I don't actually care that much. I am God. Checkmate, atheist. No, you're incorrect. Wouldn't want to be. What a shit world I'd be tasked with fixing. Here is the first one I've got. I wish there was sorting on Threads that we could sort by upvotes or something, but we can't. All right. I'm once again requesting one good reason to believe in God. Someone named Heather wrote, "You didn't create yourself." I'm aware. My parents had sex. Did you know that? Did you know my parents had sex? Because they did. That's how they created me. I think I understand, but I'm going to keep running through these. It's just a silly thing to make the well, where did you come from? Sex! My parents had it, and their parents had it, and their parents had it. And then at some point, some asexual organism was not having sex, but was still reproducing. And then, you just go back. It's wild that you would still go with that as far as... Granted, they'll just take it all the way back to the abiogenesis event. Well, we'll just see where that'll eventually come up, I'm sure. Mark says, read the book. I assume they mean the Quran. Because if you just say the book, like Gina on Sunday, I'm talking about the one God, the living God. I'm only talking about which one, the one. Which one are you saying is the one? There's only one living God, as though it's like, right, Gina, you believe there's only one living God, but there's not only you in the whole world, and lots of people believe that, but they don't all believe or accept it's the same one. But that Gina call was fucking insane. She's the one I told to eat, that her God could eat my asshole. It's ass flavored. Read the book. You can't figure out one good reason. I can't reason with you. But if you insist on some good reasons, respect your elders, respect your body, respect your family, respect yourself. Realize that there are people in this world who are truly trying to hurt you. I could continue, but I think we start with these. None of these are good reasons to believe in God. Respect for your elders. There are many elders who don't deserve respect. Respect for your body has nothing to do with God. That has to do with your own health. That has to do with your own autonomy. And I will tell you, ain't nobody not respecting the body of others like religious people. Respect to your family. Some families don't warrant respect. I have one such family. I like my chosen family, but the other ones, no respect necessary. Respect yourself. Again, nothing to do with religion. That has to do with like you can actually base a lot of secular humanist values in that. Realize that there are people in this world who are truly trying to hurt you. Yeah, in my case, Christians. They're trying to take away my rights, and some of them have tried to take away my life in the past. Y'all remember that crazy shit when I had to move? Because people were being fucking whack about the pumpkin guy? Some people are overwhelmed by their powerlessness in the universe and the bad things that cause them grief. Placing faith in a higher power is comforting. There are no atheists in foxholes. None of those are true. Well, sorry. The last thing, there are no atheists in foxholes, is not true. It literally isn't true. There are lots of atheists in the military, is what you would actually say, and foxholes is meaningless because there aren't that many foxholes anymore. But there are atheists enlist. Atheists have. It's not a particularly. It's just a dumb thing people say. Placing faith in a higher power is comforting. So that's not a good reason to believe. It's a good reason why people believe. But to actually believe, if you're finding comfort in something that isn't true, I would say that's a bad reason to believe. Just like we see value in eventually stopping believing in certain jolly fat guys who come around during Christmas time. I'm talking about myself. Stop believing in me. Why is it so important to you that you don't want people to believe in God? Because the belief in God fucks us over all the goddamn time, because people vote on the basis of that belief and how they extrapolate it. Imagine a world without God. I have yet to see that there is anything but worlds without God. So right now, if I imagined a world without God, I would imagine a world in which God is not clearly evident. Therefore, I would imagine the very world we live in. I would imagine this world is the godless one. Dum-da-dum-dum-dum. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. Right, but I asked you what your good reason for believing, not your good reason for hoping it's true. If this is the basis upon which you believe, why aren't you investigating whether the claim itself is true behind it? Because it seems to be that specific one you're not going for, even though there are other gods that are offering you salvation on the basis of your belief and dedication and worship of them. It's always the same dumb stuff. So you can tell people, my God can beat up your God as you whip out a long and gnarly. Oh, that's not a. I hate when atheists respond. I don't want to hear from you. I want the theists on here. I guess that would depend on what you deem a good reason. Everyone else appears to offer good reasons, but only based on their own experiences and knowledge. Doesn't seem relevant to you no matter what they suggest. Instead, maybe the best answer actually lies inside of you. Surely your own heart can be searched. What is your good reason? I don't have a good reason. I have zero good reason to believe in God. The best reason for me is, well, I need the Lord. Without him, I'm lost, an orphan. I have zero identity, zero design purpose on my life, and I'd be loveless. If that was true, people who don't believe in God would have all of those things. And yet many atheists have love, have purpose. He says, clearly zero designed purpose. Good. Good. Life is more beautiful when purpose is yours to decide, yours to claim, yours to grip by the goddamn... I can't remember what that word is. I'm blanking on a word. Anyway, and zero identity. I don't believe in God, and yet my identity is so not zero. Many people would call it abrasive. God knew you before you were born. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. He knit you in your mother's womb. God created you for a purpose. You are here right now for a reason. Of all the time periods and places you could have been born, you're alive in 2024 in the wealthiest and healthiest time in human history. So are you saying for all the people who that didn't apply to, it would have been reasonable for them not to believe in God? Because the more you take away from humanity, the further back we go, the more likely they seem to actually believe. Let's see what the next one was. Do you ever have an overwhelming sense of love and happiness where you know everything is connected? No. I sure don't. I think that is a misinterpretation of what people are thinking, where they're feeling very elated and they allow them to think dumb thoughts. I think that there are versions of that look awful. You ever seen somebody who's infatuated and convinced somebody loves them who has no idea who the fuck they are? Humans do that with people. I don't know if you saw Drew Barrymore had the stage stormed by a guy. Drew Barrymore, you know who I am. I need to talk with, and it was a person who was just absolutely infatuated with her, and she doesn't know who he is. But he had been writing her all kinds of letters and trying to get a hold of her in all kinds of ways. Anyway, the scriptures that speak of God says he is the source of all love, all peace, all bliss. The Quran says this, the Bible. It's just lists a bunch of books. True is working. If he exists, and I think so, then he exists for all in equal measure and does not force anyone. Makes no sense, right? Correct. It makes 0 sense. That is not our responsibility to give you one good reason to believe in God. Grow up. Apparently, you don't believe in the Bible, which says it is your responsibility. And maybe they don't. We'll find out. When you belong to him, nothing can snatch you out of his arms. Oh, posting that made the whole thing move along. Okay, where did I lose it? Wow, that one like disappeared while I was reading it. Okay. Someone put a verse. The fact that when we believe in God, we get eternal. And I love this. This verse and the fact that when we believe and trust in God, we get the eternal gift of relationship with the person who has the secrets of living the best life possible. And all we have to do is read about them or ask him about them, and he will gladly give us this knowledge. I love it. He's going to gladly give us the secrets of living the very universe. But the Bible, it wasn't great on like evolution, things that actually are facts. It didn't actually push society forward, didn't give us a new understanding of medicine. We still had to wait for science to come around. But that Bible, it is full of secrets that are useless to you, that are fucking useless. You'll spend less time on social media. You don't know that. People tweet from church. The fuck's wrong with you? If you don't believe in God, who's going to protect you from what God will do to you? Another atheist response. At least that one's short and cheeky. Hey there, Eric. Hope you're doing well tonight. I'm wrapping up here, but reading some proofs of God people sent me. Good reasons, rather, on threads to believe in God. Got any advice for someone possibly getting... Jimmy Snow, do you have any advice for someone possibly getting into voice acting? Would you also like me to give you advice on competition skiing? Because I don't do either of those things. I am not a voice actor. I've never been featured as a voice actor except for maybe a Prophet of Zod cartoon years ago, like 5 years ago. I might have been in one of those. I think I was actually. So I don't know where to take that because I'm not a voice actor. But as far as championship skiing goes, French fries, pizza. French fries, pizza. I believe pizza slows you down and French fries speeds you up, but I could be wrong. It could be the other way around. I have no idea. No idea. Are you sure it's a choice? I've always assumed faith or a lack thereof was one of those things that can't be forced or coerced. It can be a bit like love. You are or you aren't, and reason has very little to do with it. I think that question might contradict itself. Maybe it doesn't. But it's weird to say like you'll have based on faith, but it won't be because you want to. It'll just happen to you. It's very strange. Very strange. I can tell you what my audio setup is. I'm actually going to, so right now, where I'm recording now is not, I'm hoping to make a very nice, chill area from which to podcast in a spare bedroom in my house, where I will put extra effort into soundproofing the room, isolate the audio much more, is I guess what I'm saying, and have like a nice sort of more chill chair to sit in and stuff. But anyway, this actually won't be my final like podcast recording space. I'm looking to actually create a podcast recording space in the near future, because I want to be able to be. These chairs aren't bad, but they're not terribly comfortable. I don't always want to be sitting at a desk, and because I'm not planning to live stream it much, I want to do my best to have something that is also a very comfortable place to be, somewhere I can sit with a tablet or a laptop and have the conversations with the friends and record and stuff. So that's the idea. That's the goal anyway, but we'll see what happens. As far as, this is a Shure SM7B. This is a Gator frame stand. It's all plugged into a Rodecaster Pro 2. The Rodecaster Pro 2 is an amazing soundboard. It does a lot of stuff. It's I think the best one, at least in the prosumer cost range. I use Mogami audio cables because they are, but I don't know what else to tell you. Empire Stormcloaks. Let's see. I'm always going to go anti-Empire. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Yeah, I said a good reason. Not, your claim is I believe in God. The reason for believing in God can't just be another version of the claim. I believe in God because I believe in Jesus. Right? And what is Jesus? Well, Jesus is God. So I believe in God because I believe in God. That's not circular. Someone said, no, you aren't, that I wasn't actually requesting. His biases are strong. He can't allow himself to accept one good reason there is to believe God. And yet, my life has a pattern of changing my life when better evidence came along. All you have to do is present the one good reason, but it's a lot easier to not present the reason and just say no reason would suffice just because I don't find your reasons to be any good. But your reasons are bad. Made perfect sense 2,000 years ago. Okay, that's why. Define good reason. Hope, really believing in God, is just having hope of a better future, a better day tomorrow. No, it isn't. The idea that that's just you're just redefining what God is. In fact, a lot of people are trying to make a shittier future. But if you really had hope for a better future, might I recommend a secular method of activism where you might actually put in the work to deliver it one day. Actually give it a fucking shot. Because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Oh, belief in God is just hope for a better day one day. I definitely think a lot of people hope for it to deliver them from their oppression, for example, in the future. But I would not describe that as the mainstream reason even for believing in God now. Why do you need reasons from others? Make up your own mind and decide whether you believe or not. I don't believe, but if you have a good reason, I'll change my mind. People change their minds. Blades or graybeards? Graybeards. Blades are cool though. Oh, because you want to use your personal relationship with leverage to control others. Yeah, that's true. I probably need to not go into the relaxed voice as much and do the sort of, well, yeah, but because I am trying to get that cleaner audio for the better sample to be able to evaluate for the adjustments we need to make, which is funny because as I just mentioned, I'm going to be trying to design a room that will be better for podcasting, and I'm realizing I'll have to re-record it then to fit the new space. But in the meantime, that'll probably take me a while anyway. Depending on the church, the potluck can be pretty good. That's fair enough. All right, I think that's where we'll cap it out. I think we covered the stuff, but don't forget, Jimmy Snow has a podcast starting January 6th. An audio version of this little pre-show will go out to different areas. If you haven't already, hit subscribe on this channel. Make sure you have notifications on if you want to get the podcast from specifically YouTube, but it should be available everywhere podcasts are available, including Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called, the main places. And if you want to have it always ad-free, as well as look at other benefits, you can go to jimmysnow.com. No, sorry, not jimmysnow.com. That will actually get you to some preacher's website. There was a Jimmy Snow before me, and he doesn't even spell it the same way, but he took the same URL. Patreon.com/Jimmy Snow if you want to support. And if you want to leave a voicemail, 833-766-9763. I am Jimmy A. Snow on Instagram and Reels. Unfortunately, that was taken too, so it's Jimmy A. Snow. Stands for Alexander. Jimmy A. Snow on Instagram and Reels, where I'll be posting clips and highlights, as well as annoying theists like I did on Threads with this very post. Good seeing everybody. Good hanging out. I hope you have a pleasant remainder of your Tuesday, and I hope that you check out Jimmy Snow has a podcast starting September 6th. Let's go out on the fucking awesome theme song. I just love it so much. That's not it. That's just a bell.
Welcome.
This is your life now.
The wasteland where we all take a vow. Where some glow due to radiation, two heads where there usually is one. Unsung.
With you,
I know we'll
find a way through the fallout, come what may. There's definitely going to be this in the streams, in the podcast. Because frankly, sir, you're being very rude right now. You're being very rude. Come what may.
in this new reality, we will embrace the change we'll rearrange. 3 dog spins from the station, love songs for everyone to hear.
Out here. Oh, I got the word. I keep getting the words wrong.
In this land, melodies fade fast, but not us, we will make it last. With you, I know we'll find a way
Through the fallout, come what may.
with every mutation, we'll embrace the change. With you, I know we'll find a way
Through the fallout, come what may.
in this new reality. We will embrace the change we'll rearrange. In every challenge we face, you take it on with grace.
I'm gonna do TikTok dances. I'm not doing that.
With every step we take, our path becomes so clear. Together, forever, overcome without With you, I know we'll find a way.
Through the fallout, come what may.
With every mutation, we'll embrace the change. With you, I know we'll find a way through the fall.